Before we dive into today's episode, I have something exciting to share with you. If you're a teacher, principal, or supportive parent looking to bring vibrant educational gardens to your school, I'm hosting a free webinar just for you. In this webinar, you'll learn step by step how to grow a thriving student-led school garden that's connected to your curriculum all during class time with no extra work outside of school hours for you teachers or parents. The webinar is available 3 times a day until February 20th, so it's easy to find a time that works for you. Head over to kidsgrowingcity.ca to register now and start growing with ease. All right, let's get into today's episode. It's time to dream a 2025 school garden. Hi, I'm Leila Mireskandari, your host, and this episode is number 30 and the last episode of 2024 of the School Gardens with Ease podcast. Why the last episode of the year? Well, because the next 2 remaining weeks of the year are supposed to be dedicated to holidays and family. As our episodes release usually on Fridays, next Friday is the day before Yalda, the winter solstice, and that's the holiday that my family celebrates this time of year. Then there is the week of Christmas and then Hanukkah, and then there's the New Year's, which almost everybody celebrates. These are just to name a few of the craziness in my household during the next 2 weeks. We also have our wedding anniversary. Also, my daughter is celebrating her home bakery anniversary, as she calls it, her bake-anniversary. It's also the anniversary of my grandma's passing. So let's just say that in my household, it's going to be crazy the next 2 weeks. And I'm sure that some similar crazy version is happening with you. So the last thing you want to hear about is school gardens. If you do have quiet time and you do want to hear about school gardens, I invite you to take a spot on my School Gardens with Ease webinar, which will be running 3 times a day throughout these 2 weeks and beyond. And that's because these are not live, they're recorded, so I can, provide them to you. And I have already recorded the first episode of 2025, which is an exciting interview with a teacher who's been running school gardens with Oasis Classroom for the past 3 years and has upgraded to Kaha Oasis with an outdoor garden. So he has a lot of experience and he's sharing all of that in the interview. It's a fantastic interview and I can't wait to release it in January because I know that it will answer a lot of your questions. So, as the last episode of the year, I thought it would be fitting if we look back at 2024 with a reflective eye. And also, and more exciting, to look ahead into 2025 and plan for a school garden of our dreams together. I, for one, am very proud of 2024 and I'm very excited for 2025. I can feel it that it's going to be a crazy year of growth for my little non-for-profit organization, Kids Growing City, which in turn literally means the year of growth for gazillion school gardens and a lot of regrowth for the old school gardens. Because, that's what Kids Growing City does, helps teachers grow a school garden for well over the past decade. And I hope that in 2025, your school garden is going to be one of them. Even though the school year and the calendar year don't match, but the fact that this reflective time of year is actually in the middle of the school year is a very good opportunity actually, because kids are now settled in school and they know their classrooms and their classmates and their teachers, and the teachers know their students and they have a clearer plan about what works with this cohort, what doesn't, what are all their needs and all of that. And most importantly, the new year is exactly before spring, which is perfect time for planning for a school garden. I know I've said this a million times before and I'm beginning to sound like a broken record, but the longer of a runway a school garden project has, the better success it could achieve, given that you're following the right strategy. Well, doing the wrong thing for longer is not going to be better. And this is perfect timing for planning, fundraising, and finding the right resources. That's why I run the free 70-minute webinar at this time of year. And that's why I open the doors to my Oasis programs at this time of year. I don't want you to panic though. The doors will stay open until mid-February. So you'll have plenty of time to look into it and, go back to it and register in January. But when January rolls around, it's going to be chop time. It's important that you don't wait until spring is here because that's going to be too late. So you have to start ASAP. But instead of starting to plan, I think it's best to look back at this time of year, especially and reflect. How did your school garden project go last year? Even if it didn't go at all, why was that? What stopped you from starting a garden with your class? And if you did grow a school garden or tried to grow one, what went right and what didn't? What was easy and what wasn't? And be very honest with yourself. And this reflection doesn't have to be, it shouldn't be just about what grew and what didn't grow, what grew well or what didn't grow well. It should be about everything. It should be about, did your kids actually learn how to grow food? That's the main thing about all of this. Did you connect them with nature? Did they have enough exposure and hands-on experience throughout your project? Did the project connect to your curriculum well? Was building, growing, and maintaining the garden hard, or would you like it to be easier this year? I do that too. I look at not just my school gardens that I help grow or my programs, but even at my own, garden, in my own backyard, and reflect on what worked and what didn't work and what do I want to change. There is no other way to do better next year. If you don't go through this process of reflection, you are bound to repeat the same mistakes and probably don't, repeat the things that went right if you don't know what they are. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, we all know that is the definition of insanity, and you don't want to drive yourself insane with a school garden, do you? And you know what's worse than repeating the same mistakes? Well, giving up is. If you grew a school garden or tried to do one and encountered a lot of issues, which is unfortunately very common because at the risk of sounding arrogant, not everyone follows my advice or is in my programs. So a lot of people do fail at this. So if that was your case, you're not alone, first of all, and you don't want to just give up. I know it's painful to reflect and remember all the hardship, but this pain is necessary for progress. Remember why you tried it in the first place. I'm talking about your dream. Your dream is still very valid. Why did your dream not happen the way you dreamt it? Look also at the good side. What worked? List and pay attention to things that worked, because you don't want to forget them. You don't want to take them for granted. You do want to repeat those. Were your goals wrong? Because believe it or not, that happens actually a lot. All it takes is to mistake a school garden for a community garden, and all your goals suddenly are wrong, and all the actions you take based on those goals are wrong, and that's where you end up. To be very clear, the only goal of a school garden should be education, and education only. Anything else leads to a lot of hard work with very little results to show for. Did you get the wrong people involved at the wrong time? And I'm not just talking about the one parent who always disagreed or, was unreliable or annoyed everyone in meetings. I'm talking about getting parents involved in the garden in the first place at all. Because if you've been following me for a while, you know that that's wrong. Even though parents have a crucial role in a school garden, but the role is different. All you need essentially is you, the teacher, and your students, and that's it. And I've talked about that in previous episodes a lot, so I'm not going to get into it here deeply. Did you try to grow a garden outside of your class time, in lunch clubs or after hours groups? If yes, then that could be the source of a lot of your issues. Did you grow a conventional raised bed or trough garden and did not pay close attention to which plants went in there or what type of arrangement those plants had? Because that could be the source of your issues. Did you plant a monoculture garden, a patch of tomatoes, and expected this to work very well? Because those types of gardens are high maintenance and very difficult to grow because they have essentially no help from nature. And now that you've listed all the issues and hardship and problems and obstacles, what are you going to do to avoid and eliminate them next year? If you didn't start a garden, what kept you? And how will you make sure that those obstacles are out of the way next year? Remember, your goal should only be teaching. And the people you need are only you and your students. The space you need to get started the first year is a few tables in front of a sunny window. And the material you need are seeds, potting soil, and a bunch of inexpensive buckets and craft supplies. And where you should allocate your budget is to a collection of curriculum-connected lesson plans that cohesively grow you 100% hands-on garden while you teach your math and science and language arts, etc. I have talked about all of these in the past episodes, and I have a gazillion guides and resources for you. You know that. It's really that simple though. Now, writing those lesson plans is the hard part, and that's, of course, where my Oasis program series come in. Go check them out. The links are in the show notes. And now that you know what went wrong and what went right and what stopped you and, all of that good stuff, it's super helpful and inspiring to start dreaming, because even though it's helpful to reflect and know the issues and the solutions and obstacles and all of that, it's even more helpful to dream again and believe that the dream is possible. Because no amount of money with the best strategy or the best lesson plan package will get you there unless you know where it is that you're getting to and you believe that it is possible to get there. I don't know all about the specifics of your dream. I know my dream, and I know that if you are listening to this podcast, our dreams are probably not that far apart. And here's my dream. I wish every elementary and middle school teacher grow a classroom or a school garden filled with many varieties of healthy food plants, so that every elementary and middle school student gets the amazing opportunity to get their hands dirty, connect with good food and nature, and be empowered with this life-saving skill, and confidently know in the deepest parts of their soul that growing an abundance of food is easy, fun, and rewarding. And if you want that for your kids and students, and you want that type of legacy to be leaving behind, and you want that to be with ease and without sacrifice, that's where our dreams collide. And that's how together we can change the world one school garden at a time. I can't wait to talk to you again and possibly work with you in 2025. Happy holidays, Happy New Year, and see you soon. You've listened to the entire episode, and for that, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and please share this episode with other teachers who might be interested in this topic. See you next week for a new episode.